Testing. Hello, hello. How's it going out there? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Got a lot to cover tonight. Well, not a lot, but we got a good amount. A lot of Palworld stuff, and gonna be playing Palworld games. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hope you guys are ready. I see David in the chat over there saying, "What's up? What's up?" Also back at you, man. See Pato the stoner. Hell yeah, brother. Says, yo, I say hello. That's my bad. Hold on. I'll fix that real fast. Oh my god. Okay, hopefully that fixed it for the next person that subs. You can see I stream two different styles, so if you guys want to see it long ways, like you're on a TV or something, you want to see it long ways, I've got that style, and then we got the mobile style too. So if you guys, it seems more people watch me on the phone, so I have a lot of, so I have it set up that way, so you guys can watch either way, and yeah, whatever's more comfortable for you. It shows it on the other end, but not on my mobile side, so that was unfortunate. But yeah, this is a legal dispute that Nintendo was having with the Pocket Pair company that makes Palworld, and they lost. Nintendo lost. They tried to do some stupid stuff, and this is basically, I believe, this is going to cover a lot of it. So let's check it out and see what it's all about.
That Nintendo and Co. are trying to protect a multi-billion-dollar IP, Pokemon. And we've seen how they've treated this, especially on the gaming side of things, and it is just of total disgust. We've talked extensively about this on the channel, but how they've treated this franchise the last number of years is just so frustrating, and they've been rewarded with multi-million sales because the IP sells itself.
I like doing it like this so it shows off the person's YouTube channel.
As long as it has a Pokemon name attached to it, people will buy it, and Nintendo knows that, unfortunately, and that has led to just stagnation in quality, or them even trying new things. And even when they do, it does feel like the bare minimum. Back in 2019, there was tons of outrage.
Don't get me started on Pokemon. They're about to say something about Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield was good. I liked Sword and Shield. I thought it was a good game. But Violet and Scarlet was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then the next one did not do any better. Legends ZA was an absolute atrocity.
Over Sword and Shield's limited Pokemon.
Like, I'm not even gonna get it. Like, I'll never play that game. I hated Legends Arceus. Why would I get this one if it's even worse than the first? You know what I mean? Like, no. I'm good. I'll pass. I will pass.
Dex in 2022, people are outraged by Scarlet and Violet's humongous performance woes. There was also in 2022 Pokemon Arceus.
And I do want to like iterate, these are just my opinions. I don't have any like ill will towards anyone that does like the games. If you like them, then you got your money's worth, man, and that's awesome. David, you say you liked it. Yeah, man, like if you liked it, that's awesome. Like, I'm glad. I just didn't. It wasn't for me.
A massive
it just wasn't for me.
Surrounding the graphics, which did not look very impressive for a game coming out in the 2020s, and that outrage over graphics also bled on over just last year with Pokemon.
Very nice. Thank you for the sub. Very awesome. Sorry, that's extremely loud, so I had to stop the video.
And people just talking about how games from the early 2000s outshine what Nintendo is building these days for the Pokemon franchise.
I might need
And
to
there was
mute
other
the.
issues. There was also the fact that former Nintendo employees claimed that Pokemon Legends Z through A only needed to sell 200,000 units to break even, which says that Nintendo is basically spending maybe 10 to 15, $20 million on these games that are selling probably, or they're making more than $1 billion. It's honestly disgusting how
Exactly.
they just don't even.
That's the thing that pisses me off so much about the Pokemon franchise, and I also think that's why Game Freak is starting to move away from it. They got that new game. We showed that off one of the other videos, which you can find on this channel. Of we watched the game trailer of that newest Game Freak game that's coming out on PlayStation and Xbox and probably Steam, probably Nintendo because it's Game Freak. I'd be surprised if they didn't. But I was like, yeah, see, this is like they weren't getting their creativity out enough in the Pokemon games anymore, and I think they are just. I think a lot of the Pokemon devs have just gotten burnt out on it because Pokemon games, like, you get like two Pokemon games. It feels like almost every single year, so. I think there's just burnout in the studio as well with the creativity portion of it, and you can kind of tell like it's rinse and repeat right now, and it's not a good cycle. And the reason why so many people, I guess around my age, because I'm 38, and we grew up with Pokemon, so I've seen the progression, and each old game was very its own thing, its own region. That region had its own Pokemon, and you would find these Pokemon, and then at the towards the end of the game, in some of the games, you'd get the national decks, and then you'd start getting those Pokemon and all the ones that you know from previous gens. And that was kind of fun. That was really fun and exciting about Pokemon. There was a bigger reason to beat the game than just for the story. And if you're like, a lot of people know that frequent this channel, I'm not big on reading bunches of text on story, and unless I really interested invested in the story. But Pokemon games, I typically don't care. I really don't. What I care about is the story, making it exciting, and that's what Sword and Shield did. Like, Sword and Shield was exciting. The whole idea of making it into like a soccer or football, uh, style of like stadium that you would go in, I thought was dope. The only problem I had with that was that they could have themed those stadium gyms a little better than what they did. But other than that, I thought it was super cool idea to like turn it into a big sporting event, just like in Pokemon Stadium. They turned it into Pokemon Stadium essentially, and Gigantamaxing was cool, man. I love Gigantamax. Just watching, and somehow some of their forms changed when you got in there, the Gmax form and all, like that was super cool, man. So they went from that super creative new game, new idea, new concept of Pokemon, and then they just destroyed it with Scarlet and Violet. It was a downgrade, man. Like it looked about the same. There was more popping because it was a bigger world and there was more going on in it, which I was fine with. But sometimes that would hinder the gameplay, and sometimes I would run into glitches because guess what? I'm very famous for freaking finding glitches on accident all the time. Because the way I play games, I guess I go into places I really shouldn't be, or I just in ways that are weird. And then sometimes I'm one of those people, and I don't even do it on purpose half the time. And then sometimes I do, but see what you can see what how breakable the game is, and that game is kind of breakable, and not in a good way either. Not in the fun like speed running way, like the horrible break your game kind of way. So I don't know. It's just they've been downgrading, and that's what I don't like the most. Is that it feels like they keep downgrading, and then they're just adding more Pokemon to make up for it, so you'll forget about it. But nah, nah.
Want to invest in this franchise because they don't feel like they have to. And there was outrage again
Yeah,
that
exactly.
bled
They
on
don't feel like
over
they
to
have to.
Metacritic,
That's
in which
how
people
it
gave it
feels.
negative scores. And then we also had outrage over the actual pricing of the content, which Pokemon Legends Z through A's $30 Mega Dimension DLC pushes price of owning every new Mega Evolution to $100 on Nintendo Switch 2. which has been a common thing with Nintendo and their greed over the years. See what happened with their $80 variable pricing a couple of years ago. But as many Pokemon fans came to an agreement, this is just modern Pokemon, and there's no reason to expect it to get better. I think a lot of people expected after Palworld popped onto the scene that Nintendo was really going to realize that there is a competitor here, and maybe we should be giving more to the community. Maybe we should be investing more in the IP.
See, in there, that's the thing too. Nintendo don't feel threatened by anything. I mean, I think he's about to get to the point where we start talking about the legal trouble, but it's something that Nintendo has had a the capitalize they've been capitalizing on Pokemon for so long. So they have the business model for that, and everyone goes to them for that kind of game. While the other games get left out, and then they just get kind of like stuck in TCG games, which there's nothing wrong with TCG. I love TCG. I've played TCG, but you know what I mean. It's not as on a grand as of a scale as Pokemon would be, or an esport game, any esport game would be compared to TCG games. That's just the way it is. 'Cause it's just more money is involved there. It's promoted more heavily than TCG is. Not to say TCG ain't huge, it is. It's just not as big, I don't think. Which that's a shame because TCG's really cool and creative. It's fun to watch people's brains work. It's more of a mind game, I think, than just because there's not as much visual as there is in a video game. Anyways, I just feel like, yeah, it's something that's been a problem with Nintendo. They don't feel threatened by anyone, so they're like, oh, we're good.
Actually looking what players want from
Then they
an
get
actual
upset
Pokemon game these
when
days.
people
But they haven't done that,
stop
and they
playing
don't
their
care to
games,
do that.
because that's what's
Instead, they went the
happening.
legal route, which was just trying to eliminate Palworld from the face of the planet. Unfortunately, that has not worked. We'll talk a little bit more on
Thank
that later
goodness.
in the video. But it is interesting, though. The developer of
That's a
these
very
Pokemon
scary
games,
thing.
Game Freak, they have shown that they can make really interesting, compelling experiences. Look no further than Beast of Reincarnation, which is set to come out soon. And they just talked
Yeah,
about it the other
it's the
day,
Game
saying it
Freak
doesn't
game.
really fit our vibe after decades of stylized Pokemon, but new photorealism
Yeah,
would be the best fit for the action RPG.
it's a
It's just
big.
absolutely insane looking at the
It's very
gameplay of that
different.
experience versus what they produce with the biggest IP on the planet. Still, though, I think my first
And this should prove a point. The Game Freak can make amazing looking games, very visually striking. They are just told not to. I think they're given a lower or a certain budget, and they're like work around these, you know, parameters. And I don't think they're being as funded as heavily anymore, the Pokemon games, because like a lot of people are predicting or have predicted or seeing, you're now seeing, is that Pokemon Company is very greedy and they just want their money. They don't care about the fans as much as they like you to think that they do. And that is why I've departed from Pokemon since Legend ZA, because it's a big slap in the face to those of us who have been playing since Gen 1. I got not fire red. I got just plain old Gen 1 red when it came out, man. And I've been a fan ever since. So I've followed them forever. So someone, people that have been consuming the game for a very long time. And then you're just basically giving the middle finger and just saying, hey, we don't care about you no more as much as we used to. That's a problem. Especially when it's their big. It's the same with Halo. Halo got the same kind of problem and treatment from 343. They were fans, but they weren't. They were modernizing it in the wrong ways, and they weren't staying true to what the core gameplay was, and that messed things up too. So it's just one of those situations, man. You gotta watch what you're doing with your IPs because people notice, and eventually they will crumble, and then you're gonna lose out on millions and billions of dollars just because you got greedy. You let your greed win in the moment instead of playing the long game and giving us what we want.
frustration isn't
We're the
necessarily just
consumer.
with users, people going, the casual people going out of their way to buy the games. It's also games media, because they reward them with these reviews that don't bring up at all any of the core complaints that go viral on social media. And this has been the case for the last decade. You have an article like this coming from VGC: 5 out of 5 stars for Pokemon Legends Z through A, love letter to older fans that's better as Arceus in every way. If you didn't know, this outlet has not
That is
given
not a
one
love
review
letter.
in the last decade. I think lower than
No.
4 out of 5 for the Pokemon games, which is insane considering the quality issues that has plagued this franchise.
I love how they try to say that's what this game was. Because I know a lot of people that have been fans as long as I have, and nah, nah, that's such BS, dude.
And then you compare it to what they just gave out the other
Later,
day.
David. Thanks for tuning in,
Palworld
man.
1.0 review, a patently pleasing adventure held back by busy work, which is hilarious. It is hilarious and they give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's just hilarious that you can give this type of criticism to Palworld, but that level of scrutiny never comes with a big name IP like Pokemon. It's just interesting. And Eurogamer is also another outlet that did this back in 2024 when Palworld immediately came on the scene when it went into early access. This is a story for a number of outlets. It's just very interesting, the reporting on this game versus Pokemon. But Eurogamer at the time said, playing Palworld gives off the impression of playing a product designed to be sold rather than to be played, which is hilarious. I never hear that with Pokemon. You will feel like a mark and you'll be right. And even at the time, I pointed out the game costs $27. It's in early access, and this has to be one of the most disingenuous reviews I've seen for Palworld. And their full review, I love the headliner, but is Palworld actually any good? Of course not.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it really is hilarious the way
Wow.
that games media has treated Palworld over the years, and it has continued here in 20.
And I just want to say, and I have the proof. I could show you when I purchased this freaking game. As soon as I heard about this game, my friends were telling me about it, and they're like, "Hey, you should get this game. It's cool. It's like Pokemon, but more adult, and it's base building, like Minecraft and games like that." As soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh, boom, right on it." I've been supporting this game from day one. I actually bought it twice because I didn't know that. Well, at the time, crossplay wasn't allowed. I got this on the Xbox One, and then I couldn't play with my friends, so I had to buy it again on Steam. So I bought this game twice because I believed in it so much, and here we are. It's one of the biggest games out now, and for good reason. It's such a fun game, and it's way better than Pokemon as far as enjoying the environments. You know, I don't want Pokemon to become this because this is different from Pokemon. This isn't Pokemon. This is monster hunting and survival. That's a whole different genre from the only similarity is the monster catching and stuff, of course, right? But it is a different genre of game, so it's not encroaching really on the Pokemon style, where go from town to town, and this is more of survival. You don't do survival stuff in Pokemon games, and you don't want to. That's not the point of Pokemon. The point of Pokemon is to go and beat the gym leaders and become the champion and get awesome stories and interesting characters along the way that are actually worth listening to. Um, this game doesn't have that. This game's story is very lacking, and honestly, this game could use voice acting. The just text only is not very good for this setting and the kind of way it's set up. It's the same for Pokemon games. Like, they need voice acting. Bring in the anime actors, man, that voice actors that do these things, and give them voices. Give them freaking voices. I understand it's a tradition, but it doesn't have to be, and it's not a necessary tradition. There needs to be more voice acting in these kind of games, especially this one, because it just doesn't have any flair to the dialogue. It's very boring dialogue. The fun is the base building and the stuff. It feels like the story was just like tacked on towards the end, and that's probably my biggest criticism of Palworld is I don't give a damn about the story. I like the characters that they've made up in the towers and stuff. I like that. I think those are interesting characters, but there's nothing to them really. So I feel like the story wasn't very important to to the game devs, and I know that for probably I think it's a fact because playing through up to the release, there was really no story. It's like they had the logs, and that was about it for the longest time. And then towards the end of the beta, they finally put, or the early access, they put in story, and they started adding it. But yeah, I don't play Power World for story, bro.
2026, but even if during early access does not invalidate those efforts. Games only get
Thank
better when the
you.
players
That's
are involved.
they're smart, man.
And this is something that I brought up when Baldur's Gate 3 was blowing up back a couple of years ago, is the fact that it introduced a new route of going about game development. And here we are now here in 2026, and Palworld has evolved. It has gotten so much better.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
the big
so
thing people are
different
talking about,
from
how
what it
this game
was
actually
initially.
did listen to players, and it invested. It made the product so much better, and that's why it is blowing up everywhere. On Steam, it almost reached 1 million concurrent players. That is a huge accomplishment for a game that blew up a couple of years ago at 2 million. People didn't expect that this level of interest would continue a couple of years later, but here we are now. And still, though, games media, these headlines, man, rock, paper, shotgun. After years of Nintendo lawsuits and many millions of sales, Pokemon Beta, love that headline, Palworld is out in 1.0 today. Kata Gacha Amal. And clearly it's mocking, saying that Palworld is just a copycat of Pokemon. That's at least the implication they're giving here. Despite all of this media scrutiny that for some reason Palworld gets but Pokemon never gets, we have, like, you can look to the numbers. This is the big story, I think. It's the fact on SteamDB.
Which, by the way, if we want to go talk about monster mechanics and stuff, I think Dragon Quest beat them to it because if I'm not mistaken, you could do monster catching, and I think there are other monster catching games that came out before Pokemon. So, you know, it's just that Pokemon is the most popular game that has that mechanic in it, but there are others. I mean, Digimon is too. It's monster catching. It's a little different, but the current ones, yeah, it's very much you fight them over and over and then you acquire them. You know, that's catching them. That's it's also another game that's in a anime series that is very popular, still popular to this day. No one says nothing because Pokemon is the most popular version of this kind of game.
Even right now, about 3 weeks after its 1.0 release, it is still about 500,000 concurrent players. That is just an insane accomplishment. And furthermore,
I'm
if
so
you look
glad.
to the actual reviews from users,
It's because people like me and my friends and all of us that are big Pokemon fans. I mean, dude, I got Charizard. I don't know if you can see that. I got Charizard. I got Squirtle. Bro, I'm a big Pokemon fan. Like, but at some point you gotta stop feeding the beast and hit them where it hurts and hit them in their wallet and quit buying all the bullshit. Because if you keep buying their bullshit, they're just going to keep making bullshit. Sometimes you just got to restrain yourself and say, hey, this time around, I'm not getting it, to show that I'm not happy with what's going on here. And that's what I'm doing until I see a real upgrade. Dude, because I don't even know if I want to get Wind and Waves. Like, I feel like I'm going to have to get it, both of them, but I don't know. If it's the exact same thing as Scarlet and Violet, I'm gonna wait probably months before I try to get it. Because I don't know, man. I just have way more fun in Power World, and they keep upgrading this game. And who knows? Maybe in the future we can start having competitive, like esport level battling. This game's just in its infancy stage. It's not even a full year old. Not technically, officially, it's not.
I think this is the big story with Palworld. It's the fact that you have 31,000 reviews. 94% of them are positive. And by no means am I saying Palworld is the greatest game of all time. It's so good. It deserves 10 out of 10s across the board. I'm just saying that the scrutiny that this game has gotten is just so much more than
Yeah,
I've ever seen
it
with
was so
Pokemon.
dramatic.
It delivers in so
I
many
agree.
different ways. I take considerable issue with how media has covered this over the last couple of years, and that is a trend that has only continued here in 2026. And look, another way of going about this conversation of Palworld versus Pokemon is how they treat their communities. I remember the big Minecraft Pokemon mod years ago, and yeah, Nintendo, Game Freak, and Co. Yeah, they went out of their way to shut that down because that is competition, something that they don't want to be bothered by. And period,
Yeah.
mods in general is something that Nintendo has really gone out of their way to shut down because they just do not like any of that stuff. Any unauthorized practice, they're so against that. One of the most litigious companies in gaming. And then you compare it to what's going on with Palworld right now. Palworld dev embraces fans' eyebrow-raising female pal mods. This is again the same executive saying, "Fun.
Yep.
Palworld is about having fun," which has about
Exactly.
20,000 likes. And yeah, so if you watch the little video that he shows off, you got Master Chief and some other mods going on here. It's adorable. It's nice to see a game that really is about community, about gamers, about an
Yes.
enjoyable experience rather than this corporate behemoth in which if you want to have anything fun, it's thrown in microtransaction packs and such. And Bucky did continue just pointing out all the cool little collaborations that they've also had in the past.
Dude, can I just say that is so sad because that is so true these days. And it used to not always be like that. Pokemon used to be about its community. It's not anymore. It used to, but man, it really has just become a corporate robot. It's very lifeless compared to what it used to be.
In which just some really intense combat, as you can see in the gameplay that I'm showing in the background. And he says, "You can do this in Palworld, by the way, since we've done a collab with both Terraria and Ultra
Yeah,
Kill."
Terraria
very
and
cool to see how
Ultra
this
Kill,
game
dude. That's
is
so
developing,
cool.
and hopefully this is something that only continues past 1.0.
And they did a
But it
great
doesn't
job at
mean
those,
that
by
the
the way.
controversy is slowing down because the Pokemon
Especially the
community is
Terraria one.
still
That's so
extremely
fun.
upset by Palworld's just existence, I guess, because Palworld's new legendary whale reignites Pokemon copy debate over Kyogre similarities. I'm probably saying that right. I'm not
Yeah,
the biggest
well,
Pokemon
you
person
know,
myself, but yeah, they're comparing whale.
look, it's always going to be compared because there's always going to be similarities because Pokemon has made every goddamn creature you can think of. It doesn't matter what you make. You can make the most unique monster right now and someone's going to compare it to Pokemon because you just can't help that. We can do the same thing with Digimon. There are Digimon that look like Pokemon and Pokemon that look like Digimon. There's Pokemon that did not come out till later after Digimon had already made those kind. So it ain't just like everyone copies Pokemon. Pokemon has copied others too, whether they knowingly did it or not. It's there. So it's not like they're all squeaky clean. Oh, they're the top, and no one and they make every single monster unique, their own ideas. Nah, sometimes you can tell like that looks like it came from something else. So it happens everywhere.
That's the best way to describe the outrage here. And somebody saying, "It's nice that people are enjoying Palworld, but bros will look you dead in the eye and say this is not Kyogre." LMAO. And look, it doesn't matter. You're going to come if you talk about how Pokemon took a lot of its design from other, monster catching experiences. They don't want to have those conversations. In a lot of people's eyes and the
No,
media, Palworld's always just going to be a copycat of Pokemon. And at the
it's
same time, I
stupid.
would just say, well,
Just have fun with
Nintendo
it.
has had zero success in their lawsuits, so that's just something that's worth mentioning. And they've never sued them in terms of copyright infringement of their designs. So just something noteworthy to bring up in this conversation. But
I
yeah,
agree.
like I said, the meltdown has only continued. Played Palworld today as a lifetime long fan of Pokemon. It's not that it necessarily steals designs from Pokemon. The game is dead as every popular game combined. It literally plagiarizes everything. And I don't even know what to say to that because borrowing of game mechanics and all designs and all this stuff is just a staple of the video game industry.
Yeah,
Patent stuff.
there's so
which,
many of it. It's
seeing
just this one's
Nintendo,
popular.
seeing
That's
Warner
the only
Brothers
reason
for how
why.
they've gone about that type of stuff over the years. Another person, Schizoed. I mean, that's the only Schizoed out here, I guess. You are a shit for brains who knows nothing about Pokemon if you think a effing Gark clone with tacked on monster catching is filling any void for Pokemon. They're not even in the same genre. The actual truth is pal shit. These names, my god, is available on Steam while Pokemon isn't. Steam that by dog crap if it's cheap enough and has enough virality behind it. And oh look, Palworld is effing
Sounds like a
$30, the
diehard
perfect
Pokemon
price for
guy.
little Timmy to spend his weekly allowance on, and it has the most obvious marketing ploy I've ever seen. It really is just astonishing the meltdown some of these Pokemon fans have over.
Which is funny is people are like, if a Pokemon fan ever comes up to me and criticizes me for playing Palworld and says you're a kid, I'm gonna be like, dude, you got it all twisted, bro. Like this game is geared more towards adults. Pokemon is geared more towards kids. And I think that's why this game has taken off so much because people like me who grew up with Pokemon, we're starting to outgrow it a little bit, in terms of what we expect. And Pal World delivers that itch that we got. And that's the thing. People like us who have been playing for years, I've been playing it for decades. We're the ones playing this because we're tired of that.
Or just the sheer existence of Palworld and the popularity
Same
that it has
regurgitated
garnered.
stuff
And even just the slightest criticism people throw at
nowadays.
Pokemon, saying, hey, maybe if they actually invested a little bit more in their franchise, something like Palworld wouldn't be kind of feel like it's badly needed. But yet they don't want to have those conversations because they exist in their echo chamber, and Pokemon can never do any wrong, unfortunately. And that's ultimately why a company like Nintendo, Game Freak, and so feel enabled to do absolutely nothing with these franchises as casual fans just eat up this slop. It's just the honest to God truth here. But at the same time, though, the Power World community, many people there's so many different videos just showing the boss fights are the big thing, like the big whale that they're talking about, Panthalus. Like, my God, it is just impressive the scale and the scope that they've gone to with this game, because I remember playing this back in a couple of years ago in its early access phase. Boss fights were very limited with its structure and such, and they have just done such extensive work to expand upon all of this. And another person saying, Palworld really said, what if we made the legendary creatures behave like actual legendary creatures? Another person saying, Palworld's boss fights are on a completely different level than Pokemon. The scale, the intensity, the gameplay depth, there is simply no comparison.
Unless
Another
you overlevel, then it's
Palworld
easy.
is everything my childhood self wanted in a Pokemon game. I legit had dreams of boss fights against legendaries that played like this. And that is the big thing I think a
Yeah,
lot
the
of us take
legendary
away from
fights
this.
are always fun in this
Years ago,
game.
we remember playing Pokemon experiences that kind of play out how they still are to this day. It's just that we all expected that we're going to get something so much grander in scope and scale years later that just it has never happened. Another user saying it's an insult to Palworld to compare it with such mediocre games, and like I said, the rivalry is just insane. There's no point of comparison. The gameplay, Palworld is 3 generations ahead, and the little fans just cling to nonsense like they copied a Kyogre. Another person saying, looking at the fight after no-lifing Palworld makes me so sad for Pokemon. And lastly, there's no question about it, Pokemon Wins and Waves is going to have to step it up after Palworld. Everything
And it
from
didn't look like
traversal,
they
boss
did.
fights, creature uses, breeding raids, combat to basic animations. The glow-up is going...
And I'll be honest with you, I think that is the main reason why that the Pokemon Company was trying to sue Pocket Pair, is because I think they know now they have to up their game and they have to spend more money to their projects, and they're gonna have to make them better if they want to compete in this new market that's starting to encroach upon their market. And that's the biggest thing and problem. And I think they got booty hurt over it because this one's doing so well and it's not theirs. So they're trying to, they tried to sue them and get them off Steam and get them taken down off of all the consoles, but it didn't work. And now they're probably fuming because they lost, which if you know anything about the history of Nintendo, they paved the way for gaming. They weren't always like assholes. I mean, yeah, they were, but in better ways. And it was more geared towards the legal system than it was towards other gaming companies. Even though they did do that, don't get me wrong, they did a lot of not cool things to gaming companies, forcing things upon them. But they create a lot of history, and they forced a lot of new laws that were beneficial for the consumer, mostly.
to have to be huge. And I love the top comment somebody responded because
They
it's
tried
the
again
truth.
and it didn't work.
Like that's ever going to happen. Pokemon has had its moments. They've had their chances over the last couple of years to show that they're interested in growing these franchise. If they're interested in a real evolution, they have shown no inclination that is a path that they want to take. And I do love this article coming from Forbes' Paul Tassi, one of the journalists that actually does understand the crave with Palworld, saying, yes, Palworld is better than Pokemon in many ways. And as he says in his article, there's a line I've heard out there that if you truly think Palworld is better than Pokemon, you have nostalgia glasses on and haven't played for generations now. You're thinking only about the bare bones games from ages ago. I did play those, but what I do remember is eagerly looking forward to seeing how the series would evolve from there, like all of us. Even when I was like 10, I was hoping we'd get a more action-based take on the series, a big for its time world to explore, and no turn-based combat. It never came, not in the ways I wanted, not until Palworld 25 fucking years later.
Yeah.
The combination of survival
It's true
mechanics,
though,
base
man.
building, live combat against pals and humans alike, world exploration and secret finding, breeding and min-maxing, and playing in the same world with friends all adds up to a tremendous experience, which is why so many people have logged on for Palworld 1.0, why it has reached almost 1 million concurrent players, why I think it has like somewhere around 40 million copies sold. That is a huge success story. One
Yeah,
that
it
should
really
scare
is.
Nintendo, but
Even a
unfortunately,
million
they
is,
just-
like, crazy.
They've only gone the legal route. That's the only thing that we've seen in reaction to Palworld's success, and also taking a couple of its own mechanics from that game, might I add, with Z through A.
Yep.
But as this Forbes article finally says, it says, Game Freak has not innovated at nearly the pace it should have for all those years. This isn't to say Pokemon is crashing and selling terribly. It certainly is still making that money. But if fans are introspective, there's a lot of bare minimum progress going on here, which is exactly what I've been saying.
That's the
But
problem.
ultimately, it's just the legal route that Nintendo is interested in here with Palworld's success.
Yeah.
As we've seen, the
They just wanna
Pokemon company
eliminate
a
it.
couple of years ago
Eliminate the
investigated
competition.
Palworld after its success. The company threatened it would take appropriate measures if rights had been infringed, and ultimately they did. They went after the patents. That was a very interesting pathway that they took, but ultimately it caused Palworld to react. Palworld had to remove a couple of game features because
Yeah.
of Nintendo's
They
lawsuit.
couldn't glide anymore.
And here in 2026,
With
though,
the,
things got
Kill
very
Marty.
interesting because the legal fight finally went against Nintendo. As the United States Patent Trademark Office rejected Nintendo's controversial summon character and let it fight Pokemon patent and non-final ruling as Palworld legal battle rumbles on. And as the USPTO pointed out, and many other jurisdictions, like I think it's also happening in Japan, it's just that what Nintendo is claiming that they have ownership over is something that other developers many years before Nintendo even popped to the scene with Palworld have been doing. And them claiming ownership over these mechanics is just absolutely insane. And
Yep.
finally, the courts are catching up and understanding that Nintendo has no right to this type of stuff. And this was the big ruling that we talked about just about a month or two ago, was the fact that Nintendo wanted to block Palworld. Now it faces a 0% chance and a measly $30,000 payout. Public record shows that the Nintendo versus Pocket Pair case is practically wrapped up, and the best case is Nintendo making chump change. And that was the ruling that was coming out of Japan, just showing that Nintendo's case against Palworld has collapsed. It has totally been decimated. And even right now, though, as
Yep.
Splatoon Raiders is coming out, Nintendo, though, the big headlines is that they can't escape the courtroom as
sorry.
their fight with Japan is ongoing, the Japanese Patent Office. Specifically, it was that Japan rejects Nintendo's Monster Catch patent over a 2013 fan game, which is hilarious, but it's true. Japan's patent officials seem exhausted with Nintendo's antics as they refuse its absurd defense of a rejected Pokemon patent.
Yeah.
This is a report specifically coming from automation-media.com. They cover a lot of Japanese stuff, but they specifically point out that Japanese users pointed out the uncharacteristically scalding language Japanese Patents Office examiner used in addressing the counter-arguments from Nintendo's side. Industry professionals like Japanese patent attorney Kiyoshi Kurihara have likewise commented that both Nintendo's objections and the examiner's written response contain things rarely seen in standard patent practice, which it almost sounds like they're yelling at each other. But yeah, so what happened here is that one of the key factors behind the patent's rejection is a YouTube gameplay video from 2013 demonstrating the indie fan game Pokemon Generations. Yes, this gameplay video from a fan game is being used against Nintendo, the game in question, and the characters depicted in it infringed upon its copyrights. They argue that the JPO's examiner acted extremely inappropriately by deliberately mischaracterizing an infringing product as though it was an official one and or an authorized one, and the sentence is repeated numerous times throughout the document. So Nintendo's big issue they take with it is that the JPO cited a fan game as evidence that Nintendo wasn't innovative here, and why
Wow.
Nintendo doesn't deserve to have his patent approved. But the JPO's examiner did shut this down, the mention of copyright infringement entirely, explaining that based on domestic patent law and court precedent, whether an invention infringes on copyright or not has no bearing on determining inventive step, while somewhat dryly implying that Nintendo's stance strays from standard thinking for patent practitioners. They dismissed the interpretation the examiner acknowledged the cited fan game as an officially licensed Pokemon game, which I don't think there was actually any mention of that, as a completely unreasonable misunderstanding. They also add the mere possibility that the reasons for rejection could be subject to such an unreasonable misunderstanding has no bearing on the assessment of inventive step. And it does continue that another part of the notice that has been causing amusement among Japanese users is the examiner's apparent annoyance with Nintendo's pedantry over how the unofficial game and its content was referred to and the reasons for a rejection, which it just sounds like Nintendo's upset more at the semantics rather than the ruling.
See, it's like I was saying earlier, like they're just upset, bro. Like, why are you mad, bro? They that's what it is. Like, I think that's what it comes down to, is that they're starting to see that they're not number one anymore, and they're starting to fall, man. And they're not gonna get back on top by just making a plain Jane cookie cutter game again. They have to really step it up and innovate like this game has. So that's the only way it's going to work if they're going to make something happen, unless they want to keep slipping downwards and people get less and less interested.
And its counter arguments, the company of Nintendo stated Ash, Pikachu, and Pokeball should be properly be referred to as a character infringing upon Ash, and so on and so forth, respectively. In response, the examiner says if it were impermissible for the reasons for rejection to refer to character names, then even at the cost of being redundant, accuracy should take precedence. In that case, the notice would need to use cumbersome descriptions such as an object in the form of a small animal instead of a Pokemon, and an object in the form of a boy wearing a red cap instead of Ash, an object in the form of a
So basically, if you just restructure how you're depicting it, it's okay. That's basically what that sounds like.
small yellow animal instead of Pikachu, and it goes on and on. However, even with such rephrasing, the logical structure of the grounds for refusal remains unchanged, which means that them being upset over the wording of making a mention to Ash, it's all pointless. It doesn't change the ruling at all. Therefore, this argument has no bearing on determining inventive step. And lastly, it is mentioned that another objection raised by Nintendo positioned that the Pokemon Generations video was merely a video, and thus the examiner could not extract the technical elements of the claimed invention from it. And the examiner, though, was puzzled by what this argument is supposed to mean, surmising that it probably is intended to imply one of two things. The Nintendo's side acknowledges that the video is genuine gameplay video, but does not believe footage alone can disclose the technical features of a game program, or the Nintendo side is casting doubt about whether the video is gameplay footage at all, but perhaps merely an animated video to which narration has been added so as to make it appear that though the uploader were playing a game. The examiner promptly dismisses both arguments while noting that the second scenario, the uploader's behavior, would be way too preposterous. So again, Nintendo argued that the gameplay video might have just not been actual gameplay, not even from a real video game at all, which obviously the Japanese patent office
Especially
rejected
nowadays.
this narrative. But that was a lot of words to just
You never
explain
know.
that Nintendo is being very silly in the courts right now, and the courts are not, they're not listening for any of that stuff. They're exhausted and they're tired from Nintendo's BS and them really haggling over stuff that doesn't really matter at all in terms of the ruling. But
Yep.
at the very least right now,
course, man.
Palworld is expanding. So if Pokemon was hoping to stop Palworld in its tracks, it hasn't. Palworld 1.0 is here, and now they're actually introducing a trading game. Yes, you heard that right. This is
Yeah.
actually going to be launching in the next day or so, in collaboration with Butchie Road, one of the most respected card
Which we're
publishers
about
in
to
Japan.
cover that
The
here in a
Pokemon
second.
TCG is experiencing one of the biggest booms in its 30-year history. Card game launching July 30th. If this catches even a fraction of the Pokemon TCG boom energy, the collector's market is about to get very interesting. And it has already been announced that Palworld's official card game officially hits 3.5 million pack sales worldwide. Very interesting to see how this develops over time. And I almost forgot about this one, but yeah, Pal Farm was announced last year. You know, taking on Animal Crossing. I'm sure that already raised some eyebrows from Nintendo as well. That'll be probably releasing sometime in the near future. And it's not even just stopping there, because while Pokemon has no interest in other collaborations like coming to Fortnite, looks like Palworld may be taking up that place, as this is something that was hinted recently
Yup.
in terms of Fortnite adding Palworld to their in-game survey that asks
Yup.
players which games that they've played
That is the biggest thing that Nintendo struggles with, is trying to keep their IP to themselves. Because the only way you're going to get Pokemon in Fortnite is if you play the Switch version. I guarantee you that's how they would set it up instead of sharing it on all platforms. Because they keep that company and that game so closely guarded to their system. It's just like as important as Mario and Zelda. The only difference being is that Game Freak and Pokemon Company, while they're associated with Nintendo, they're not completely a part of Nintendo. They're just synonymous with Nintendo. And there's gonna be a day, and it's already coming, where Game Freak is just gonna be like, dude, we need to expand because Nintendo is just pissing us off, or whatever the reason might be. And I think that's what we're starting to see. There's a shift in power with all this stuff. Nintendo's not the number one cool kid on the block anymore.
recently, and also the same marketing
Hasn't been,
executive that I
has not
talked a
been
couple
for a
times
while.
about in this video, the head of publishing communications, Bucky, he kind of hinted at this, saying, theoretically, hypothetically, conceptually, and spiritually, if, with absolutely no promise of it being realized or coming to fruition ever, but if, capital I and capital F, if any of the new pals in 1.0 were to get a skin, which would it be, and what would the skin be? So maybe a Fortnite collaboration is on the way. But as some of you might know, that Palworld has also expanded into being a publisher, because they are actually caring about this gaming medium, this gaming industry. As I said, we're going to see more hit games coming from publishers you've never heard of. Pocket Pair and the indie publishing revolution. And as one of these executives said, I think we're going to see more hit games coming from publishers you've never heard of, more indie games getting funding through
Yep.
incubators and public funds rather than publishers.
Remember in like around like 2011, 2012, 2013ish, when indie games first like really hit the scene with Fez and Super Meat Boy and like all those kind of games. A little bit later, Dear God and stuff. Those games kind of revolutionized how the industry takes in games, and I think we're about to hit another like one of those times in gaming where the indie devs are going to come up again, and they have been like a lot. There are so many indie games out nowadays that are super good and very unique. It reminds me of the days of when I was a kid, and companies like Nintendo and Sega and PlayStation, I mean Sony with the PlayStation, had unique games because they were not afraid to take those risks. And that's really the problem with the big companies these days, is that the money is so tight, and because of the way that the greed that a lot of the higher ups have, that the games don't get the proper funding, I feel, and that's what screws that up. And then you have indie devs who are not confined by that, and they go to the people and they use their Kickstarters and all the kind of funding they need from whatever source, because they have really good ideas and really fun ideas. And that's why the indie devs are going to be victorious, and they might be the new big hotness if we're not if the big companies aren't careful, and they're just going to take over everything. And then you're going to lose, and then eventually there's going to be, maybe Steam takes over everything, and then the Steam console comes out, and then all of a sudden everyone's just buying Steam consoles, and then other major company consoles aren't being bought as much anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's a trickle effect, and it's gonna happen to these big companies because the game devs are not afraid to take the risks, and it shows in a lot of the games we get these days, because they're super fun, man. Like there's a lot of good ones that I really enjoy a lot of, and yeah, Pal World is one of them.
The future of the modern publisher is just a marketing agency offering platform support, but not necessarily developer
Yeah.
support. Massive legacy publishers may
And
move
that used to
towards
not be the
AA
way.
scale titles, but for others, this is where it's going.
We were just playing Legend of Dragoon. That was PlayStation. You know, that's a Sony published that game. They don't do that no more. They're more, and they are more marketers. They're trying to reach out to the other uh just game companies and just bring them in. Third party is very big these days, and indie it used to be the company publishing games and then third party, you know. Now it's third party, indie, and it's just gonna become more and more of that.
And as one user said about Palworld's
It
massive
keeps going
rise,
this
he
way.
believes that this will force Pokemon to rethink their games. We'll see. Now that Pokemon has a competitor, it will have to come up with new ideas for their games instead of the exact same thing every time. Until those Pokemon game sales are heard, I am skeptical on this, but it is definitely nice to see something like Palworld even exist in the first place.
Hey, we just getting rated.
Right, yeah, I remember.
Count
It was the one that
Stonkula,
looked like it was
64.
running in fast motion.
Thank you.
Whoa, Mario, what are you doing? Mario,
That's how you fall out of
I
bounds.
can't get him out of this.
Well,
Holy shit.
He says Palworld has very publicly distanced itself from the idea that it's a service game, despite being constantly maintained and added to, no seasons, no microtransactions, etc. Rather, it's doing what No Man's Sky did, charging an upfront cost, in this case $30, and over time adding free updates to dramatically expand the world, adding both new locations and characters, in this case creatures, and features that fans want to see. And finally, he adds, the potential is here. Palworld is intensely addicting and has built itself out dramatically past what it was at launch. And what it was at launch was already good.
yes, it was. And that's why you're going to see this game thrive, because they understood it's not just about the money. They understood that they're building something bigger than just a cash cow. And that's the big difference between devs like this and big companies like the Pokemon company coming in and just trying to cheapen the games that we have grown to love. So, yeah. And look, they've sold 40 million copies of this game at $30 a pop. Dude, I mean, they've made quite the, I don't know what they put in, how much money they put in to make the game, but certainly they made a big profit off of this, because that's a huge number for any game, any like AAA, little A, Z title. You know what I mean? Like, play a Final Fantasy 11. Interesting. That is, man. You must really like.
You're subscribing for more videos
We'll
like
say,
this, and I'll see you
we'll
later.
just simply say, Palworld rules. All right. Speaking of TCG, they're talking about TCG. I'm gonna cover that next. By the way, just
if you're lucky and it's not sold out already. So yeah, it's been about par for the course as far as normal TCG launches go. The Palworld TCG officially launched worldwide on Thursday, July 30th, with its first booster set, the Dawn of Palpagos.
I've been
and
tempted to
two
get
trial
these.
decks. You've got red and blue and green and purple. Each one of the Dawn of Palpagos booster boxes has 12 packs with 7 cards in each pack, and the complete set contains just 100 regular card types, but there are 61 parallel versions, meaning there are a lot of alternate versions and chase cards
Of course,
packed into this
just like in the
relatively
game.
small first set. And the
Terra,
trial decks
Christ,
are honestly
all that.
a pretty solid starting product. So each one includes a 50 card main deck. You've got your 10 card soul deck and a paper play mat, a play guide, counters, pretty much everything you need to get started with the game.
So cool.
Including one Dawn of Palpagos
I
booster
hope they
pack.
do like an
Some
online
cards
version
inside
of the
trial
game,
deck may also be replaced with parallel versions, so there
like they
is
do with
that, at
Yu-Gi-Oh.
least for a little extra excitement when opening one. Maybe it'll help hold its value in the future too. But the launch was massive even before the release day. So before the game even officially launched, Bushiroad announced on July 9th that the Dawn
Yeah, I just got an idea. What if they eventually, if the TCG catches on, they decide, you know how we have PvP in Palworld game, the video game? Maybe they'll like incorporate the TCG in there too, and we could do like TCG battles or something. That'd be fucking dope. Man, I wonder if anyone's like thought of that in their company, or if anyone's really thought about like going through with something like that, because that'd be really cool idea. Teach people the game and stuff, and then you can go buy the cards in real life, or you can play online, or something like where you can do both. You put QR code or something on them to scan them. I don't know. That'd be interesting though.
Palpagos had already reached 3.5 million booster packs sold worldwide. And that announcement came just 3 weeks before the official release date, which should have been our first warning that demand was going to be much larger than a lot of stores expected. And I was in the same boat. I really only found out about the TCG when I was scrolling Instagram Reels and saw that they were having a tournament for early access.
My Discord community friends told me, particularly my boy Overlord Gaming 777. Follow him on Twitch and on YouTube today. We also have a Discord community, so if anyone wants to be a part of that, it's there. We're very chill. It's not very big. It's just a small little community of RPG nerds mostly, but we play all kinds of games. Some of us are alias play like hardcore Call of Duty and stuff too. So we do a little bit of everything. Because I am generally a variety streamer for those who are new here. I don't do a lot of like this type of game, but sometimes I do. Like when Palworld, was released, version 1, I was like, oh, now I've been playing that and retro RPGs lately. That's pretty much all I've been doing. So, but we do play a lot of things generally when there's not like a new release out for a big game like Palworld.
Thought it was crazy. Never heard of it. So I went out, got a couple booster boxes, and I'm lucky I did because the prices went from $50 as of today all the way up to $200 asking price for a box. It is nuts. Once release day arrived, the product started disappearing almost immediately. There's one large eBay pre-order listing and it had sold over 500 booster boxes for about $65 before they made that unavailable. It doesn't really represent every store, but it gives us a good example of what people were originally paying before the market exploded. And I can confirm, I went to my local game store, they had a box for me, and it was only $49.99. Unfortunately, I do not think the prices will go back down unless there's a big reprint. And even then, with a misprint on the box of these first editions, might be a little hard for prices to come down. Just remember, though, that those are only the active asking prices. A seller can list a box for whatever number they really want, but that doesn't automatically mean people are regularly buying boxes for that much. But even if we only compare a
people are gonna charge like $200, $300 for those things,
$170, that is still a ridiculous increase for a product that's been publicly available for just 4 days. You can expect that scalpers are going to jump into this game just like they have with any other game. It is important to remember, though, that this is just a small booster box. There's only 12 packs inside with 7 cards in each pack. At $180 per box, you're pretty much paying $15 for every pack of 7 cards. Please don't do that if you're trying to get into the game. I know this is the first Palworld set, and I know the boxes say first edition. They have the typo. I know everyone's afraid they're never going to see one again, but we're just 4 days into the game. Pretty sure it's just launch week FOMO mixed with low supply and people trying to make a quick profit. So as of today, August 3rd,
probably
I can't find a confirmed restock date.
I could
or
agree
a
with that.
second wave quantity from Bushiroad. I did talk to the workers at my local game store, and they said they were expecting another shipment, but they didn't know when they'd get it in. The official product page does specifically mention future reprints because the packaging error is going to be corrected in later printings, and that confirms more versions are planned, but it doesn't tell us when the boxes will arrive, how large the next printing is going to be, or whether stores will even receive enough product to meet demand. So in a nutshell, yeah, more boxes should eventually exist. That doesn't mean they're going to show up next week, but it also means I wouldn't panic and pay $300 or $400. Because somebody on eBay says that that's
a little
the
patience.
price of the set, and once it's gone forever. Don't fall for the FOMO. Wait for actual info. And the singles market is just as ridiculous. The biggest headline was the gold Cativa Soul card. And then we have this copy of
look at
the
that,
Dragon
3K,
Whisperer, a copy sold for
$1K,
$1,400 before release.
$1,400.
More recently, sales have been looking closer to the $700 to $1,100 range, with price charting currently estimating the ungraded value is about $1,000. That is pretty pricey.
Damn.
If you want to look at some of the other chase card estimates, we've got Lylene roughly at $350, Lily Strategy is about $300, and Zoe.
Well, my question is how common are the really expensive cards as far as What is the current, if there's even a way to determine that? I guess just by looking on the market, but you got to also consider the people that just aren't going to sell theirs. They're going to wait. Like, I wonder what the probability of getting one of those cards is. Because if it's like a very low chance, then I could see why it's so much. But if it's not a super low chance you're going to get those really expensive cards, eventually that alone, when more of them start to surface, if they do, just depends on how they distribute them. That's going to definitely drive the market down again, I would say.
Strategy is about 250. If you're curious and want to look at all the card prices yourself, you can definitely check those out through the Dawn of Palworld price charting guide that I'm going to link in the description down below. The numbers are probably going to change pretty consistently and be volatile, right? The game is brand new. There are not many completed sales, and more cards are entering the market every single day as people get their packs in. The first seller that pulls a card gets to name a crazy astronomical price. First buyer makes the headline, and then the next 20 copies usually start showing us what the card is actually worth. And somehow the most Palworld part of this entire launch is that they misspelled Palworld on the booster packaging. I'm sure you guys all know this if you're already watching the video, but
Which is great.
the top right of the box says Palword. They forgot an L. And I'd say it's a pretty easy mistake to make. When I was first making my
Maybe they did it on
Palworld,
purpose.
Tyson
You
and
never
I
know.
actually made the same typo, so I'll give that one to him. Bushiroad has officially acknowledged that the printing error is there and says that the spelling is going to be corrected in future reprints. So naturally, sellers immediately started calling these first edition error boxes and listing them
Yeah.
at even higher prices.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like
before.
5K
Now, could those
eventually.
sealed error boxes become collectible years from now?
Yes.
I mean, sure, anything's possible,
Yes.
but as of right now, they're more common than boxes without the error. So don't let somebody convince you that every misspelled booster box is suddenly the Black Lotus.
No,
But
not till
more
later. You
importantly,
gotta wait
how's the actual
like
game
5
doing?
years from now.
The trial decks are easy enough to learn with, but gathering materials, managing your soul cards, assigning workers instead of attacking, playing structures, and deciding when to attack kind of gives it its own identity as a TCG. It kind of reminds me of Hearthstone, a little bit of Magic the Gathering, but I do like the crafting mechanics. It doesn't just feel like Pokemon with
Which is a
different
cool
artwork, for
idea. I was wondering if
instance.
they're
I'd say
gonna
out of the box,
incorporate
red and
that.
blue is probably your more aggressive tempo deck, and a slower control build would lend itself better to the green purple, just based on card effects I've seen so far. But as it is now, we
God damn it. Hold on, guys. I don't know why this happens. One sec. Okay, looks like it's still up on that side, so that's good. Yeah, I don't know. It went one of the streams went down, unfortunately. But that's okay. That's okay. It happens. It happens. All right, let's get back to the video.
really don't have a competitive meta yet. We've just got 4 days of games. We've got a couple local launch events, simulator matches online, and 700 YouTube thumbnails claiming that they discovered the best deck in the game. Right? Just give it a few weeks. The first real tournament results are going to tell us much more than launch week tier lists. So official Palworld shop tournaments are also starting this month at Bushiroad tournament stores, and for August, every participant's going to get one card from the PR Card Pack Volume 1, which contains one randomly selected card from a 9-card series. The champion's going to get 2 more cards from the same promo series, and stores receive additional packs that could be awarded using their own selection method. So maybe all participants get one, maybe only the top 5 get one. It's up to the card shop. I think the next few months are really going to tell us whether stores are going to continue to run these events after the initial Palworld hype settles down. But as of now, there are a lot of people interested. Now, the second booster set, Legends Awaken, is set to release on October 30th. It's confirmed that it's going to have another 100 regular card types plus parallel versions, just like the first pack, and the featured colors are red, blue, green, purple, and colorless, just like our current pack. Pre-orders already have been announced through local stores, and considering what happened with the first set, People are already going to be afraid of missing out on set 2. In fact, if I look anywhere online, all of the pre-orders seem to be sold out. So your best bet is probably heading to your LGS and trying to pick one up in person. My advice in that sense is just to pre-order from a store you trust at a reasonable price. Don't panic buy multiple cases just because Dawn of Palworld sold out, and don't pay way over $50, $70, $100 for these boxes. We still haven't even seen the complete Legends Awakened card list, the chase cards, or the new full mechanic sets. But hey, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Jet Dragon in there at the very least. And before set 2 launches, the sleeve and card volume set 1 is going to release on October 2nd. So that pack is going to have 75 sleeves and 10 total cards, made up of 5 unique card types. The cards are going to be exclusive to this product, and some copies can be randomly replaced with parallel versions. Super sick. The only thing I may not like about this is that because these are apparently unique cards and not just alternate artwork of existing cards, if you're interested in playing competitively, you might need to buy the products depending on how strong those cards are. It's something we'll definitely need to keep an eye on. They're pretty much not treating this like a small promotional side product, which is cool to see. They're trying to build it into a real competitive TCG immediately, at least while they've got the hype from Palworld 1.0 dropping. So you've got all the information and you're wondering, what should you do right now? If you already have your products, open them, build a deck, start playing. If you want to collect a box or two, keep it sealed in case the price increases.
Having long hair sucks sometimes. It always
if you miss the first
gets
wave, I
all over you.
$200 for a booster box, unless money generally does not matter to you. Look for the trial decks, check the official tournament stores, buy the singles you actually need or want after the prices settle. Keep watching for real restock information from Bushiroad themselves, and remember that you don't need the $1,000 Chillit to play a Chillit deck. I'd say right now the most important thing for the game is not whether or not a Kativa is selling for $4,000. It's probably whether people are going to show up to local tournaments 3 months from now. So that is pretty much everything important that happened during the first 4 days of the Palworld official trading card game. We had a massive worldwide launch, immediate sellouts, booster boxes nearly tripling in asking price, $1,000 chase cards, an official Palworld packaging air, and the beginning of local tournaments, and already a set 2 waiting for us in October. So really not a bad week to be a Palworld TCG fan. I'm going to be doing one of these updates every week covering price movement, restocks, tournament results, new cards, product announcements, and anything else happening in the Palworld TCG community space. So subscribe so you don't miss the next update, and please don't spend your rent money on a misspelled booster box. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's a cool guy. Palworld Tyson. I am subscribed and I like the video. I will say all right. And oh yeah, we kind of already covered this, but this is just I think from last month. So
Hi everyone. Palworld was revealed to the world in 2021, and it's incredible to think that Palworld 1.0 is right around the corner. We have been blown away by all the support we've received over the last few years, and I'm really excited to announce that Palworld has now passed 40 million players worldwide.
so dope.
Now, I have a question for you. When did you last play Palworld? Last week? Last month? Last year?
Yesterday.
Perhaps you haven't played since the early access release back in January 2024. Well, a lot has changed since then. So today, I'm going to give you a crash course in all the major additions and changes to Palworld over the last 2 years.
I
As
already
a quick
know
reminder,
all this, but it's not a very
Palworld
long video.
launched
So
to early access on January 19, 2024. The game launched with the main archipelago, 137 pals, and a level cap of 50. Palworld's first update,
Good old
version
50.
0.2, aptly called Raids, introduced the raid mechanic to Palworld.
up the level
Players
cap.
could summon powerful raid boss pals at a summoning altar in their base, and the first 2 introduced were the Belenoir twins.
Yeah, good old
This update
Bellamore.
also brought some quality of life, like training manuals and power fruits, to give players more freedom over how they level their pals. Summer 2024, we had Sakuradajima, a major update which added the first new zone to Palpagos, Sakuradajima Island, as well as 24 new pals.
Yeah, Sakuradajima was
Sakuradajima,
really
players
cool.
met a new faction, the
Still
Moonflower
is.
Clan, and the first new tower boss, Saya. This update also introduced hard mode for towers, giving players an extra challenge. A new raid boss, new resources, and a new
Yeah.
style of building materials
Bless 'em
were also
right.
introduced. Sakurajima also added the arena to Palworld, allowing players to face off against their friends. The first faction stronghold, the oil rig, also
Yeah.
appeared
Rigs
in
are
the
fun.
ocean to the east of Palpagos. At the end of 2024,
Faybreak
we had the
was
massive
big.
Faybreak update, bringing 24 new
Very
pals
big.
and a new large landmass, Faybreak Island, along with a new faction, the Faybreak Warriors.
Yep.
Led by their tower boss, Bjorn, players faced a whole new set of challenges on this island.
If you just got a lot of
This
fire
faction
pals,
set
you
up
mess that
fancy
guy
air
up.
turrets all
That
around
is the most
island,
annoying part.
forcing players to take a
That
different
right there.
approach than usual.
Them turrets every 20 minutes or so that you'd be flying around. You have to go find these towers and go shut them down, or else you can't fly on your PAL for too long. If you fly on your PAL for a little too long, just missiles come out of the freaking nowhere out of the sky and just heat seek onto you and smack you. Basically can kill you in one shot, depending on
This
your level.
update also brought a whole host of new mechanics to the game, such as PAL expeditions, a research tree, and rainbow passes for PALs. Hardcore mode and randomizer mode were also added. to give
Yeah, the
players a new
randomizer's
way
so
to play
fun.
The game. A new raid boss, new stronghold, and many new resources and weapons also arrived with this update. Some much needed quality of life in the form of work technique books to raise PAL work suitability of your favorite PALs were also added. March 2025 was version 0.5, the crossplay
Yeah.
update. Full crossplay was added to Palworld across PC, PS5, and Xbox consoles. A global PAL box was also added, allowing players to move their PALs between saves. Dimensional storage, transmog, photo mode, and more were also added in this update. June 2025 was Tides of Terraria, Palworld's
Super
first
cool.
major collaboration with another game. Over 20 new PALs and a new zone, the Terraria Island, were added. A new raid boss, Terraria's Moonlord, as well as several iconic Terraria mobs made their way into Palworld. Fishing, salvaging, and an expanded mission system. A
Yep.
new PAL trust
Really made the
rewarding
game
players
feel
for
fuller.
sticking with their favorite pals. A chain of missions for Zoe was also added, allowing players to recruit Zoe as a companion NPC. Enemy faction bases popped up all over the world, and the arena got an upgrade with the Arena Challenge mode. That brings us up to Winter 2025,
Sweet home.
Palworld Home Sweet Home. This update introduced Palworld's second collab, Ultra Kill, as well as improvements to the building system, new building pieces, painting, and more.
Painting's fun.
Improved melee combat, and a new raid boss and the raid arena. Finally, no more raid bosses smashing up your base. This update also introduced
really?
the Steam Workshop, allowing players on Steam to easily download and use mods in the game. By this point, the level cap in Palworld had reached 65, and there were now 215 pals in the game.
There is so much more I
215
could
pals
talk
is a
about,
lot.
but it would simply take up
Great
too
start.
much time. Over the last 2
It's over
years,
50 more,
Palworld has
or
grown alongside
exactly
its
50
players,
more than
and we're so incredibly
originally
grateful
had.
to you for all the feedback you've given us up to now. Palworld 1.0 will be our biggest update ever, and it will bring not only many new pals, weapons, and items, but new areas to explore, complete overhaul of many mechanics, and of course, a few surprises. We can't wait to see you and your
really
pals
cool
in
surprises.
Palworld 1.0
I haven't even got
releases
through all of it
on
yet.
July 10th. Until then, as always, thank you very much for your continued support.
Yep. It's good stuff. If you can't tell, I watch a lot of Scammer Payback. All right. And there is some kind of this coming out. I don't know how many Mega Man fans. This is a little off topic, but I thought this was interesting.
analysis is complete.
Roger.
Wait, what is this? Is this just a mod for... Oh, are they adding... I thought this was gonna be a standalone game. I see. Never mind. Well, if you play this, you like this trailer. I don't really play the Smash games. I haven't really played a Smash game in like, I don't know, like 4 years or something like that. Man, they really did a lot with Melee. Just like overhauled it, everything, man. Oh, the smash ball. Yeah. That's cool. Alright, and I thought I would watch a couple of like little short animations that I found that look fun. This is chickpeas, excellent dishes. Right? It's like, oh no. It's like cannibalism, man, for a chickpea. Oh, some carbonara. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not again. Chickpea don't care. He like, nah, man, it's fine. Wow. Wonder if you'll be able to do something like that on Pal Farm. You like put up seating for them to like sit down and eat. That'd be fun. And then here's one more from Pocket Pair again. The hair salon. Wow. Sweet. All right. Get a lamb balled out. Almost looks like a wings. Oh. Alright, I like the tansy in the background just hitting the tree with the stick, you know, doing his thing. Uh-oh. Oh. Coco. Oh, just cutting line. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna cut that. Ow. Yeah. Chill it. Being the sweeper. Alright. Okay, you're gonna use Bushi to... Is it what? Alright. That do anything? Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I knew it was coming, man. Don't mess with them. They'll explode. Coco. Good stuff. Alright. We'll be back here in a second. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be setting up for Palworld next.
Hey,